Hello, friends. Today I want to talk about an old friend, Steve, who's a retired doctor. Lately, he's been spending his days in his backyard raising up and sharing the beauty of amazing plants, like a picture he shared of his lilac clematis. This time of year, spring is beautiful and fun to most people because plants and flowers and trees are blooming with bright colors. To my fellow allergy sufferers, I'm sorry, but it is a beautiful season. Now, I should admit that there's so much about our amazing lives and God's grand creation that's above my pay grade, and there's so many of life's amazing little miracles that go unnoticed right in front of my face. Every day, especially springtime, flowers bloom and pollen is spread by the actions and movement of butterflies and bees and birds and bats. But the most active member of the pollinators group doesn't have wings or a beak. The primary force behind pollen spreading from flower to flower and tree to tree is nature's gift of wind. It's also the reason that our cars turn to a faded tint of yellowish green. I believe we all expected spring 2021 to be beautiful. Spring always is, but I think most of us hoped it would be different than last spring. It seems like so long ago that we all committed to memory a disease called COVID-19. All of us, in one way or another, are frustrated and fatigued by COVID, yet most of us would agree that things could be much worse. For instance, our last pandemic, Spanish flu of 1918, spread much more rapidly, infected about 1/3 of the world population. 500 million people caught it. And because penicillin wasn't discovered until 1928 and vaccination research was in such an infancy state, the fatality rate from Spanish flu was about 10%, meaning 50 million people died. The disease lasted 16 to 18 months, finally subsiding in the summer of 1919. The only remedies were disinfecting alongside the isolation, quarantine, and heavy restrictions on public gatherings that sound all too familiar. For us, things could always be much worse. On Easter Sunday, a group of gifted singers reminded us that regardless of what happens, regardless of uncertainties life brings, we can face them because He lives. Listen now to the first verse of their song. So in these spring days coming up, I hope you can appreciate two special gifts that God's given us. The first gift is the Holy Spirit, God's abiding presence with us each day. The earliest pages of Genesis connect the Hebrew term for spirit with the Hebrew understanding of wind and breath. Thus, Pentecost, which is May 23rd, is when the Holy Spirit entered the disciples in that upper room with the sound of a mighty rushing wind. May you appreciate each breath you take and try to notice the Holy Spirit of God as your companion and guide, your strength and shield in the days ahead. The second gift is the gift of thankfulness. Yes, there are negative things that happen and negative feelings we get or can get every day. And yet it's the many positives we must do a better job noticing. When my friend Steve shared his photo of the lilac, I liked his comments as much as the beautiful flower. Steve said, quote, "Every day is exciting when you're surrounded by beauty." And then with one of those grammatical take a step back and reflect sentences, Steve wrote, "There may be an ocean on the juniper moon Europa, but there is a sea of flowers in my backyard. I am thankful." I was impressed by Steve's observation, and especially his perspective, which makes observations like that possible. So I sent Steve a reply saying thankfulness is a gift we've all been given. Some of us open up that gift more often than others. In the days ahead, may you appreciate the gift of God's Holy Spirit abiding with you. And may you open up that gift of thankfulness much more often, and then find ways to extend those gifts into the lives of others so they can take a step closer to God, or at least find their own reasons to be thankful. Those gifts will make everyone's springtime much better, and truly no one is allergic to that. Join us this Sunday for worship in person or live stream on YouTube at Dixon First UMC.